What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride truly goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey. You know what it means when us two are in the building. We are, of course, here for the College Football Podcast. And Ryan, after what feels like an age, an eternity, a lifetime without football, week 0 is just 2 days away. And we are back to having some good old college football again.
I know, it feels great. It's been 6 months, like I say, since National Championship. Like I say, a lot has happened since then in the college football world. We've had some of the biggest kids leaving high school in history, some of the biggest commits. We've had a lot of NIL has taken football by storm. It's changed the landscape as we know it right now. So football as we know it has changed. And it's going to lead to some very interesting outcomes this season because right now it's running away with itself and it needs reining in a bit. But as you mentioned, week 0, that fun extra week before the actual football, even though it's real football, it's just odd. But yeah, football is back. Like I say, it's my favourite time of the year.
Exactly. This is the time when we get to watch the next batch of prospects for the next draft, when we just get to watch teams drop like 90 points on one another, games, 110, 120 points, all the crazy atmospheres in there, it's going to be absolutely amazing, and I'm absolutely delighted that it's back here. Shout out to everyone who's joining us this evening. In YouTube, we have Bobo Lan. He says, hello from Melbourne, Florida. Hello to you, good sir. Thank you for joining us this evening. And my man, Lions Rumble 81, is in the building. I love this guy. One of the best out there in One Pride. You will find him everywhere. He goes, what up, though, from sunny Las Vegas. And he compliments us on our threads as well. I do love that Roar of the Lions UK draft t-shirt. It does look amazing. And we've got everyone joining with us on Twitch as well. Ashley is there this evening. He goes, over under on pints drank by Rye at the game on Saturday. Ooh, over under on pints. Mind you saying that?
It's €6.50. It won't be many. I can tell you that. I've seen the price list. I'd say it's not cheap. The beef and mushroom pie is about €7.30. So over under on pints drunk in the airport or on the plane before I land is probably a bit better.
Yeah, I was about to say, on the plane, I'll go for over-under of about 5 on the 1 hour flight over there. In the stadium itself, I'd go about 1.
Will they even serve alcohol in a flight under an hour? I don't think they do. I don't
think they do. I don't think the trolley comes by. Basically, from where we are, by the time the plane gets like to the top of where it's flying, it comes back down again. That's how near Ireland is to us.
55 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
I get to airport maybe like 10ish, flight 12. So we've got no luggage, just literally a hand, just luggage bags, so not to check in. So it should be a swift process, and I'm going to have at least 2. I might just buy 2 and sit them together before we get on the flight. Land about 1, like I say, do some bits, and yeah, they've actually got official pre-tailgate as well in the Temple Bar area. There's 4 bars for Nebraska, just 1 for Northwestern. If anyone wants to read into that might tell you a little bit about how many are expecting to travel. Lots of Nebraska fans I've seen have made the travel, but I don't think they're expecting too many Northwestern fans.
No, I kind of don't know whether they exist or not. Maybe they do. I mean, do we have any Northwestern fans hanging around here? I doubt it, but hey ho. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't realise, the college football scene comes over to Ireland this weekend, Northwestern versus Nebraska. We're going to talk about all the games tonight, so we'll come back to it in a bit, but Ryan is indeed attending, and I am very jealous of him. And I do apologise to any of you out there in the British college football community who I upset when I said that, don't get your hopes up for this game. It's not going to be as good as it's been made out to be. I mean, I'm trying to do my best for you here. These are 2 poor teams at the minute, but hopefully you all have a good day and have a lot of fun out there. Just before we dive down into everything, of course, I've got to do our housekeeping. So, Roar of the Lions UK, we have a Discord channel. If you wish to join us and chat away about all things Lions or anything really, we have so many varied channels on there. Come join us on Discord. Give us a shout. We'll drop you a DM. We'll drop you a message and we'll get you in there. The main Roar of the Lions UK podcast, that was done this Sunday just gone, right after our college football podcast. We had a double header on Sunday. We did the MAC preview for the college football podcast, and I realised today that I've not put the audio of that up yet, so if anyone's waiting for that, I will put it up tonight, and I apologise for the wait there, but our regular Detroit Lions podcast is up on there at the minute, so yeah, go give that a listen if you wish to. It is a lot of fun. Don't forget to obviously like and subscribe if you're on Twitch. You know, if you've got a free Amazon sub on there and you've got nowhere else better to send it, give it a little throw over to us. Costs you nothing, and we get a little bit of money off Amazon for that. And on YouTube as well, if you've not already subbed to us and you do like what we do, you know, give us a sub. Doesn't take a lot on there. I really want to thank everyone. Actually, we put a little notice out the other day. We were just hovering under 500 YouTube subs. We're trying to get up to the 1,000 barrier, but we wanted to break the 500 first, and you all came through for us. We're up to 521 subs now, so thank you to everyone who's taken the time to do that for us. Obviously, you can find us on Lions Nation Unite as well, the app created by Lions superstar wide receiver Herman Moore. It is an app made by the fans for the fans. All your best and favourite Lions YouTube content creators are on there. So yeah, that's all that just about done. So today, like I say, we are going to be previewing the week 0 fixtures going forward. There are 11 fixtures this weekend, so we're going to have a little chat about those, and that's really it for the episode today. We're going to do that, and then we've got a lot coming up next week as well. So what is week 0? Why is there a week 0 in college football? Why do they not just call it week 1 and go onwards from there? Well, basically the short answer to this question is we have the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors to thank for there being an existence of a week 0. So basically, obviously, if you know your geography, Hawaii is miles away from the American coastline. And of course, if you're flying an entire football team, coaching staff, equipment, all that stuff over there, it costs a lot of money. And it also costs a lot of money for Hawaii to have to make the trip over to the mainland several times a year as well. So historically, they have allowed Hawaii to schedule an extra home game during the season. This allows them to use the money they make from this extra home fixture to fund their travel costs, and also any team that plays Hawaii during the season, anyone who has to make the trip out to the actual Hawaiian Islands themselves, they also have the option to be able to schedule an extra home game during the season. So again, they can make some revenue out of that and fund the trip over there. Although it wasn't really something a lot of teams took advantage of for a long time. However, beginning in 2016, the NCAA, they took things a little bit further. So Hawaii, or any team that travels to the islands for the game, they are permitted to begin their season a week early. Because again, you've got a trip out to Hawaii, it takes a lot out of you, it takes a lot of time and prep, so that extra week allows you to fit in the trip to Hawaii and fit in suitable rest time around that as well. So, I mean, for example, this year, and for Hawaii themselves, they get to play the extra home game week 1, so this week they're playing against Vanderbilt from the SEC. They get to fit in the extra week there, so that obviously their season is a week longer than everyone else's, as is all the teams who play them that year. So week 0 is a harbinger for them to be able to play their games there, and it's why teams, you know, who are going to Hawaii, like I say, UNLV, Duquesne, they're going out to Hawaii this year, so they're playing games this week to get a fixture out the way, give them an extra week's rest when they've done that. There are other situations in which you can be allowed a game in week 1 as well. So example, in the FCS, teams can schedule a game during week 1 as long as it's a non-conference matchup and as long as it is on national television. So this year, you're going to get Stephen F. Austin versus Jacksonville State. That is going to be broadcast on ESPN. That meets the criteria. Basically, it allows some of these smaller teams in the FCS to get national attention away from all the bigger games that are going to come in the weeks coming. So they're going to have a primetime game all to themselves. They're going to get more people watching them. That is a benefit for them. And also you can apply for an exemption if you're an FBS team in there as well. So there are a few reasons. The reasons can include extreme travel. So, for example, Nebraska and Northwestern, this week they're travelling over to Ireland. That is a long trip for the pair of them. So that allows them a discrepancy to schedule this in week 0. So again, they have an extra week during their season to be able to recover from the travel time and get all their other fixtures in there. And also the other one, if you want to schedule it for like a special occasion. So in 2019, Florida, Miami, week 1, they kicked off ESPN's coverage of the 150th anniversary of college football in 2019. So they were given special dispensation to put it on a wide stage to people without any other college football around, so more people would watch. So intriguing. We have the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors to thank for all this one, Ryan.
Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. No, it does make a lot of sense. It's not always that. Let's say it's definitely tough, like you say, because most teams can just park their stuff on a bus or their kit and drive it to their game. But well, can you drive to Hawaii? Is there a bridge? I don't know geography well, but getting to and from Hawaii can't be easy. Like I say, it must be expensive, so it totally makes sense. And then the FCS game as well, like you say, only 11 games this weekend, so there's a big hole missing there for a trying time game. So 2 FCS sides getting major revenue. That's great to see as well. So, but for me, it works really well. Like I say, next year as well, there's another island game, so that'll be a week 0 as well. So as long as this team's willing to travel to Hawaii, travel abroad, or get that extra TV game, there'll always be week 0 football.
Exactly, and it gives us sort of a nice soft introduction to the season where we can just, look at a few of the fixtures, look at a few of the teams in a little bit more detail instead of having 130 teams playing and trying to figure out who the hell to talk about during a week. We can talk about them all, so, I do like week 0 for that. Before we crack on with these fixtures, Ash has just raised a hypothetical scenario for you this week. He said, would you rather the North Nebraska game be a worse game, be a terrible game, but FSU falls apart against Duquesne and loses, or would you rather FSU win heavily during this weekend and you get a better Northwestern Nebraska game over there? I know my answer will be in a heartbeat, but I don't know what yours is.
FSU are irrelevant. I'd rather have a great Nebraska game, even if you win it. I'm still not going to praise you if you beat Duquesne that well. I'm still not going to talk about you or give you any praise. So I'll take the good game.
Pow pow, Ryan throwing his punches. The season has only just started. Oh, it's not even started yet and the punches are getting thrown. But there you go, Ash. You've got an answer to your question there. So, like I say, there are 11 fixtures this coming weekend, and one of the things I wanted to go through here, with us on the College Football Podcast this year, we've got a little bit of a new thing that we're going to be doing. We are going to be doing a Pick Watch League this year. Myself and Ryan, we're going to test our knowledge of college football against one another. We're going to pick 10 fixtures every week. Obviously, they're going to be the tougher ones. I ain't going to give you like Alabama versus Florida A&M or something like that. That ain't going to happen. I'm going to pick 10 of the hardest fixtures to predict in college football. You just have to give us your answers, and week by week we will see who comes out on top of that. Initially, it was going to be a thing between me and Ryan, but I thought, well, why not get the community involved as well? And I know we've already had 3 or 4 takers in the Discord chat, so if you do wish to get involved in this, then just drop us a message. I'll get you involved with that. We're going to be doing it week by week, and because there's only 11 fixtures this week coming up, we're going to make all 11 fixtures part of this week's Pick Watch. And it's not exactly the hardest week, but it's a nice way to get into the season. So there's going to be ramifications to all these. So like I say, if you want to get involved, let us know and we will get you involved with that. But without further ado, let's go through these fixtures. So the first fixture we have up, Austin Peay at Western Kentucky. Now, Western Kentucky, 21.5-point favourites in this game. So Austin Peay, they play in the FCS, the Football Championship subdivision. That's the level below the the bowl subdivisions, which is what we focus on here on the College Pod. They play in the Atlantic Sun Conference. They finished last season 6-5, but they did finish on a 3-game win streak, so they are coming into this season with a little bit of confidence built up from that. Western Kentucky, we know them very well from last year. Bailey Zappe and that offense were absolutely incredible. But it did mean that Western Kentucky lived and died by their offense last year. And they have lost a lot of that offense coming back this season. They will be starting with a new quarterback in Jarrett Doga. They've got a new offensive coordinator in Ben Arbuckle. He is the youngest offensive coordinator in the FBS. I mean, you know, thoughts on this one, Ryan? I mean, Western Kentucky, they were a good team last year, but we've done all the Group of 5 previews this year, and the Group of 5 preview showed that there are a lot of problems with this team coming into this season. Their defense wasn't particularly good last year. The offense that kept them running and kept them at the top of the conference has gone, and they're starting from scratch. And Austin Peay are no pushovers in the FCS here. I mean, do you see an upset, or do you see Western Kentucky covering the 21.5 points? What are your thoughts on this one?
I think 21.5 points is very harsh. That flatters Western Kentucky a lot. I do not see them winning by 3 clear touchdowns, and that's because Jarrett Deutsch, the guy wasn't very good at West Virginia. Let's be honest. The guy quit because he got beat out by JT Daniels, for Christ's sake. He ran away with his tail between his legs and ended the transfer portal. So he does not feel no confidence, 1. 2, they lost a lot of the complementary weapons, and I don't think he'll suit an air raid offense if they're going to try and implement that as well. As you mentioned, Austin Peay, they've been in around last years trying to make the playoffs, winning records like that. They're definitely no pushover. I expect Western Kentucky to win, but I don't think they're going to pummel them. I think it could be a lot closer than that. I think Austin Peay will do themselves proud. They won't show too much respect to them. And I think there's a lot of pressure now. I think Jarrett, he's in his last year of eligibility. And so far, his career has not been very glittering. Like I said, he's had to come now because he couldn't hack it at a Power 5 school. And I really don't think he's going to light things up in Western Kentucky.
No, I'm not sold on this offense either. And, you know, like I say, the defense just was not good last year, but you never really heard about it because the offense was just amazing. And I'm just like, I don't know, something's nagging me about this one. I think I'm with you here. 21.5 points is not happening, I don't believe. I think it's going to be closer than that. I think Western Kentucky will win it though, but it's going to be a lot closer than the money line suggests. So we're both going Western Kentucky this one, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, right, that's the first one down. The next one, well, this just happens to be the game that you're going to watch this weekend. So it's Northwestern at Nebraska. Well, it's at, but it's really at a neutral site, so there's no home or away advantage here. But yeah, Northwestern and Nebraska. Nebraska open up as 13-point favourites in this game, so they're minus 13. So we didn't really talk about the Big Ten. Well, we've not talked about the Power 5 teams this year, so I've done a little bit of a dive on some of this just to give you a little bit of an overview of the team. So Nebraska last year were an anomaly. They finished 3-9 on the season, but their post-game win expectancy, and this is a stat, this is a measure of how likely a team was to win a game based on how they played during that game. The post-game win expectancy was 8-4, so they were 5 games below what the stats said they should have been. All 9 games they lost last season were by single digits. So they lost 9 games, but not once did they get blown out. These were all very close games. I'm going to say it's more on Scott Frost's coaching, but you know, that might be up in the air. But yeah, they were a 3-win team, but they weren't necessarily a bad 3-win team. This year, they've been revamped heavily, so you've got Casey Thompson under center as quarterback. He comes in from Texas. He's replacing Adrian Martinez, the running quarterback there. They've got a new offensive coordinator to work with. That guy is named Mark Whipple. He was the Pittsburgh offensive coordinator last season. So, yeah, Jordan Addison, yeah, Kenny Pickett, he had that Pittsburgh offense humming. So that seems like a decent hire for them on paper. The offensive line was 31st in the country in havoc rate given up last season. So it played really well. Not a lot of teams got into the backfield and caused problems with them here. I think it was more down on Martinez hanging onto the ball for so damn long. And they've made big investments in their wide receiver core in the transfer portal as well. I looked at some of these guys and they legit got a sleeping wide receiver core here. They could be a sleeper in the entire Big Ten for me. On defense, again, they've invested big in the transfer portal, especially on the defensive line. They've brought in O'Shawn Mattis from TCU. They've brought in Devin Drew from Texas Tech. They were both starters last year. They've brought in Stephon Wynn from Alabama. He was a rotational guy there. He saw some time. So they've invested big. They've got 9 guys who have over 450 snaps of experience in the defense altogether. So this is a defense that is bringing back a lot of experience and a lot of talent out of the transfer portal. Their special teams are god awful, but outside of that on paper, this is the potential to be a really good team. Northwestern, on the other hand, they're a little rotten, just to say the least. They've yet to replace Peyton Ramsey at quarterback. They're still trying to figure that out. They've got a good running back room. They're bringing a 1,000-yard rusher back in Evan Hull. They've got Cam Porter returning off a season-long injury, but he was really good the year before that. And they've got a potential first-round pick in the next draft at left tackle, the guy Peter Skoronsky. I got that wrong name. Peter Skoronsky. He is a potential first-round pick there, maybe following Rashawn Slater as a really high pick out of Northwestern. But the offensive line was bad. It was 100th in stuff rate last season, meaning it could not start the run game to save its life. Really struggled to help the running backs out. And the wide receiver core, there is a lot to be proven in there. There is no one who is really standing out there at this moment. And on defense, with lost star safety Brandon Joseph, he has gone to Notre Dame. You'll still find the better players on that defense in the secondary, but when it comes to D-line and linebacker, they are found really lacking there. I mean, you know, you said 21.5 for Western Kentucky seemed a bit generous. I think 13 for Nebraska is a little bit tight.
People don't sleep on Nebraska this year. Like I said, Casey Thompson is a huge upgrade at quarterback. Like I said, he was a 4-starer and he could not get in at Texas because they were stacked. Texas weren't that great last year. He had 63% passing percentage. He had like 2,500 yards. He had like 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That is a good year on the Texas team that did not live up because he lost Bijan Robinson halfway through the year. Like I said, and he was battling to keep his job the whole time. So Nebraska picking him up, I think, was one of the best and smartest decisions of the portal. O'Shane, like I said, Mathis, I know TCU well. Huge loss for the Horned Frogs. Like I say, he gets into the backfield, he makes plays, he gets you off the field. So I think that was a really good pickup there. I can see Nebraska running riot. Like I said, I think Northwestern will tire quickly and they won't be able to keep up an explosive offense. They'll win in spite of Scott Frost, that's what I'll say, because he's not the best coach. His record definitely precedes him. Like I said, Northwestern have got a great coach in Pat Fitzgerald, but they're deeply lacking in talent, as you mentioned. That starts at the quarterback room. Who was it last year, the QB? Is it Hunter something?
I can't even, you know what, I'm not going to lie, I'm not even going to pretend to guess. I can't remember. I feel like it was someone called Hunter Johnson or something like that was just really bad. Like I say, they have not had a good... Even Peyton Ramsey wasn't that good. No.
Northwestern struggled at QB for, I'd say, maybe a decade. They do not play very well at QB. Like I say, good, shaky line. I think 13 could be generous. If Nebraska play up to the potential on all their transfers in could make an impact, then they could get Northwestern could have that ass handed to them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when I was doing this, Nebraska dropped 56 on them last year. I think it was 56-7 when they played one another last year. So,
and that was with Adrian Martinez.
And that was with Adrian Martinez.
He wasn't even that good. I can't remember who the analyst was, but about 18 to 2 years ago, someone said, that kid's a Heisman sleeper. People were so high and they're like, why? What have you seen? Like I say, I can't see Casey Thompson flopping. I just feel like this is the perfect landing spot for him because there's no pressure. There's no pressure on him at all, but he can now just deliver. I think it could be a sneaky good team, and don't be surprised if they make a bowl game, Nebraska.
No, I'm with you. The more I've dug on them, the more I'm like, well, hang on. There could be something. Like you say, that if they're going to get to the bowl, I think they're going to get there in spite of their coach. I think he does mess up the games a lot there, but, I mean, he's come back. He's actually taken a pay cut to come back this year, Scott Frost. That kind of shows he's on a hot seat. I think a lot of people have been saying if he doesn't make the bowl, he is a goner. So, they're going to want to start strong. Northwestern, you say, they're not in a great place at the minute. Pat Fitzgerald has been there for years. Usually he's able to reload a decent side, but it seems to be taking a bit longer this time. But I mean, in spite of all that bad, they've landed on Rashawn Slater and then Peter Skrzydowski. It's like 2 round 1 left tackles in an NFL draft in a row. That's kind of weird, isn't it? That they look out on 2 such high caliber left tackles, but they can't seem to do it anywhere else. But hey ho, yeah. I think we're both picking Nebraska for this one. I reckon they're going to win by about 30 points rather than 13. I don't think Northwestern are covering this at all. But it's in a neutral ground. Who knows? We will see. Moving on, and this probably may be one of the worst games this going weekend. There is no betting line on here because I don't think anyone can be bothered with it. We have Idaho State at UNLV, which is the University of Nevada in Las Vegas, and I can even tell by the look on Ryan's face there, he knows that these are 2 incredibly bad teams. Idaho State, they can be found playing in the Big Sky Conference in the FCS. These teams were miserable last year, to put it lightly. Idaho State went 1-10, UNLV went 2-10. Both of these offenses are anemic when it comes to scoring points, and the defenses both give them up too easily. I think to maybe put a comparison here, Idaho State are probably the UNLV of the Big Sky. They are on the road here at an FBS team. I think this is, that meme that keeps coming up all the time of 2 clowns fighting one another. I feel like this is the college football equivalent of that. These are 2 clowns who are fighting one another, and one of them will win, but it's not really going to say a lot about either of them at the end of the day.
No, like I say, UNLV could absolutely blow them out, and that would probably say more about Idaho State than them. Like I say, it's not something you're going to take a lot of pride from. You're certainly going to take it with a pinch of salt. If they dropped 50-60 on them, there'd be no fun in that. Like I say, it's kind of beating someone they're already down. 1 win in the FCS, like I say, 2 wins in the FBS. Both not great sides. Both their outlooks this season as well are not very good. We've spoken about them. So I expect UNLV to win comfortably, but they're not going to impress me. That's just like bullying a little kid in the year below you and it's stealing his pocket money. Like I say, it's just not going to look great. And I imagine it's probably going to have a pretty small crowd. It's not exactly going to bring in much ticket revenue.
No, I don't think this is going to be a big one. I think I'm with you. I think UNLV probably win this, but I could see a world where Idaho State win this and no one bats an eyelid either. It'd be like, oh god, yeah, it's just kind of let them fight it out. This is kind of like UConn and UMass last year. It's just like these 2 bad teams who are going at one another. But yeah, I think it is probably going to be UNLV's this one. Idaho State are just not very good at all in the conference below, and they're on the road. So I think we're agreed again. We're going for UNLV. Now let's move it on to something a little bit more optimistic with maybe some good teams. We have the Wyoming Cowboys at Illinois. So Illinois opened this one as 11-point favorites. This is Mountain West meeting Big Ten. Obviously Wyoming in the Mountain West, Illinois in the Big Ten. Wyoming went 7-6 last year. They only had 2 conference wins, though. They picked on the MAC last year. But there is a big difference between the Big Ten and the MAC in terms of skill, and they're going to find it a lot harder this year. We talked about Wyoming, Rye, when we did the Mountain West. I'll just re-go over a bit of it again. They've lost 66% of their team from last year. You stole their star running back, Xavier Valade, to the Arizona State the Arizona State Sun Devils. Isaiah Neyer, their star wide receiver, has gone to Texas, and I believe he's already been ruled out for the season with an injury, which is horrible news for him. They've lost 6 of 7 starters in the secondary, and that was the defensive strength last year. They've lost star linebackers Chad Moomer and Solomon Byrd. The first went to the NFL, the second one went to USC, and they've got a roster strength ranking of 126 out of 131 teams in the FBS. And just to put the icing on the cake, they've brought a new quarterback in, but it was Utah State backup Andrew Peasley, so they've not exactly got someone coming from a big team to them there. The Fighting Illini, on the other hand, they are coming off year 1 with Brett Bielema. They had a pretty good year. They're coming off a 5-win season, but they showed big improvement at the back end of last season. They had upset wins on the road against Penn State and Minnesota, and their defense gave up on average just 18 points per game over the last 9 games of the season. I say last 9, that's basically the entire season. They gave up just 18 points per game on average. They are affected by losses, however, 40% on both sides of the ball. Defensively, they have brought in little in the way of transfer help, so it remains to be seen if they can get that defense back to the level it was last year, keeping that team in games, but we wouldn't put that against them. The offense was really bad for the most part last season, but they've got a new offensive coordinator in Barry Lunney Jr. He comes from the same position at the University of Texas San Antonio, UTSA. His offense last year led them to their first ever CUSA championship in program history. They were spearheaded by a fierce ground attack there. He was also the quarterback coach in there, and Frank Harris is probably the best quarterback in the CUSA at the minute. So, the Illini, another one of these Big 5 teams who are in rebuild mode, but they're certainly going in the right direction. I love the hire at offensive coordinator. I mean, this again feels like another one where this is far too tight here. 11 points. I'd put this up at least double that.
Yeah. Wyoming have lost too much. They've brought in an unproven quarterback from a team that he never saw much action at. It's not going to click together, and they're going to cause a big upset week 1. They won't be able to hang with Illinois, whoever their quarterback is. Like you say, it's just going to be one of those where I expect dominance and pedigree to win out on the day. I expect Illinois will just show who they are or where they come from, and should handle them fairly comfortably. Wyoming, like I say, have pretty much lost all their weapons now. Like I say, they've not reloaded pretty well. Illinois should get the job done. It should be a safe result. Should put it in doubt. So 10, 20 points, I expect them to cover that fairly easily.
Yeah, I do as well. It seems that there's a theme here amongst the Week 0 games. There are a lot of heavily favoured home teams this week, but yeah, I don't think there's going to be much in this. Like say Wyoming, they've lost way too much here. They're on the road as well, so it's not even like they've got home advantage here. If Illinois were going out to the Mountain West, I'd maybe be a little bit more optimistic for them, but yeah, this one ain't happening. I think the Illini win this one quite easily. Quirky Cirky has joined us on Twitch. He said, so Northwestern is
Who's the Illinois quarterback now? Is it Seth Peters?
The Illinois... they've still got Sikowski there. But when I was...
Seth Peters?
No.
I can't remember him.
It was Artur Sitowski who was there last year, but when I was looking, his job is under threat. I think they've got another guy there, but I can't remember his name off by heart. But I mean... the offense only needs to be part decent. I back the offensive coordinator. You saw that UTSA offense last year. You saw what he did with them. That was a damn good offense. It ran the ball well. It threw the ball well. It was kind of just perfect for what they needed. So I'd expect him to get his teeth stuck in there very quickly and get them humming. But yeah, sorry, where was it? Quirky Zerky joined us in the Twitch chat. He said, so Northwestern is going south. That joke there, but still gets a giggle out of us. Right, next game. Oh dear. So we have the University of Connecticut Huskies. They are on the road to Mountain West champions Utah State. The line for this is Utah State are 27-point favourites, and that still doesn't feel like enough. UConn right now, they are a horrible football team. They had nearly the worst offense in the FBS last season. I think they were 129th out of 130. The defense was not really that much better. They lost two of their best players to the draft. The defensive tackle Travis Jones is at Baltimore, and the offensive tackle Ryan Van Der Mark, I believe he's with the Colts, because he got rinsed a few times by us last week, and I was made to look a little foolish. Jim Mora is the new head coach there. He of fame when talking in the post-game press conference, chucking his team under the bus. That's always a fun watch. He's a authoritarian as it comes, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of an impact he has on this team, whether the discipline's going to make them come out better or whether it's just going to fracture them even further. But whatever happens, this is a team incredibly light on talent, and he ain't going to change this overnight. They were bad last year, they're probably going to be bad this year. Utah State, on the other hand, they shocked everybody last year. They became kings of the Mountain West with a championship that very few people saw coming. They were predicted to finish 5th in their conference. I'm not just talking about the entire Mountain West, just their conference alone. They were predicted to finish 5th. They went and won the whole thing. So that Blake Anderson, the head coach, he returns for his second year. He's got his trusty quarterback Logan Bonner with him. They've got nigh on a fully intact offensive line to protect him. They do need to find new guys at receiver, and Anderson's team rarely run the ball really well, but I mean, you know, this is still going to be a highly dangerous combo to a team like UConn. Last year's defense, it excelled in havoc rate. That is the rating you get for all the productivity you get in the backfield, you know, tackles for loss, sacks, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, that's their strength. UConn have a very bad offensive line. That's the last thing you want when you're facing them. The O-line on UConn's side is vulnerable in the pass game. It will struggle to win the line of scrimmage against the Aggies' run defense, which is also really good and was really UConn's only hope of doing anything in this game. I mean, you know, minus 27 there. I mean, you know, let's put the odds up. What would you really give this as a fixture here? What would your line be? 'Cause I don't think it's going to be 27.
I reckon they win by at least 33. Logan Bonner throws for nearly 400 yards, and I bet he has two random 100-yard receivers. They will just pass them to death like they did every other team last year.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot more to say about this one. I'm with you. I probably see this being sort of near a 40-point margin victory here. So this is very easy. We're both going with Utah State. Now, the one that we've all...
Not a very good advertisement for week 0 so far, is it?
No,
it sounds terrible.
It's really not. I think some teams are getting a tune-up win here in this, but you know, we're trying to inject some positivity into it, so let's keep it going. Now, the one that one certain listener on this podcast has been waiting for, because it means that we get to talk about them, just analyse them a bit instead of make fun of them. Duquesne at the Florida State Seminoles. There is no money line on this game, but Florida State are favoured to win this. Their percentage rating to win this game is 99.5%. That's what people think is going to happen this week. So the Duquesne Dukes, they play in the Northeast Conference in the FCS. They're coming off a second place finish last year. They had a 7-3 record, and it was a season that also saw them take their first ever FBS scalp when they beat MAC residents Ohio. And they beat them on the road as well, so their first ever win against an FBS team came on the road. But make no mistake about this, this is a complete step up in opposition from Ohio. No offence to Ohio. They're going to be playing in FSU's nearly 80,000-seater stadium as opposed to the 2,000 fans who come to watch them at home. This is a big step up for them. The team itself returns 10 of 22 starters from last year. Their strengths are on the defensive line, and then from the centre to the right tackle on the offensive line, they've got a lot of all-conference players there. The left-hand side of the line is entirely new, but as far as the trenches go, they're in decent nick coming into this season. Florida State, on the other hand, I mean, I can't not say they're going to lose this. They are likely going to win this at a canter. But they've got to be very careful. If any team in the FBS knows not to write off a 0.5% chance of defeat, it should be them, because they'll know very well that they can lose to an FCS side at home. Jacksonville State went into them last year, beat them at home, coincided with them starting 0-4 to start the season. That was a massive loss for them. And you've also got to take into account that they have a massive fixture against LSU next week, so they can't afford to be too focused on that. If they take their eye off the ball this week, too busy looking at that LSU fixture, then Duquesne are capable of causing them issues. I'm absolutely not saying that they can really win this one, but if SFU are not focused on this, then they can make life uncomfortable for them. And there is a point where if FSU only wins by so many points in this one, it kind of is not really as good as a win should be. So certainly there are going to be issues with them. For FSU's team, the offense was the problem last year. They ranked 98th in offensive passing success. Jordan Travis, the quarterback, I make loads of jokes about him, but this is serious analysis here. He has to be better at throwing the ball this year. This schedule for them is as tough as they come. The ACC is no laughing matter this year when it comes to competitive toughness. There are a lot of good teams in there. Their rushing success was 73rd, so that wasn't exactly mind-blowing either. It was sort of the better of two bad parts. The defense is where it's happening. So the DC there, Adam Fuller, he's done a magnificent job since he started. He shaved a full 1.3 yards per play off the yards per play total last year. So in 2020, they conceded on average 6.47 yards per offensive play against them. Last year, that was down to 5.19. I think they jumped about 60 places in the rankings there. So kudos to him for being able to do such a good job with that defense. And they're bringing back 80% of the production in that defense. So basically, it's going to be the same defense minus Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas on that defensive line. So can you replace them? I know there is a lot of buzz over their new edge player. He's the FCS transfer from Albany. I believe his name is Jared Verse. I know there's a lot of chatter on him there, maybe stepping up, taking one of them spots. So hopefully he can come and fill in there. So, I mean, right, as much as we would love Duquesne to win this one, I don't think they're going to, but FSU themselves, they have issues this year. That defense is really good, but that offense has got to be better, otherwise they're going to have another rotten season.
Norvell is under a lot of pressure this year. Like I say, he is he's very well paid. I've looked online, checked his salary, and right now he has not delivered on that. Like I say, the offense last year struggled to move the ball. Travis is talented but inconsistent. The defense, like I say, really good, but I feel like Jermaine Johnson could be a huge miss. Is someone going to step up that's got his motor and is able to make those game-wrecking plays? We're going to find out. Will they win this game? Yes. Should they blow them away? Yes. If they just scrape by, will I rag all over them? Absolutely. I don't want to see anything less than them dominating. If they won by less than 10 points, I would crap all over them, and I would say Norvell is in massive trouble, because this is the perfect game to start your season. Like I say, LSU with a brand new QB and some new players is coming out of town a week later. You can't be rusty into going that game. You have to shake off this rust week 0. So I expect them to drop at least 30-40 points on them. Anything less than that, and I'm going to question how hungry and motivated they are, because they should be licking their lips and wanting to batter Duquesne like this. So, yeah, like I say, they'll win. It's a question of by how many and how serious they take it. I expect they'll rest starters. I think if they're big up at half-time, they will sit players pretty quickly. They won't rest them, but I want to see them get the job done, and I want to see them score heavily.
Yeah, I mean, for me it just reeks of a trap game in terms of Duquesne are strong on the line of scrimmage, so if they don't turn up or if they underestimate them, they will get hit hard. Again, not enough to beat them, but like you say, if this is like a 10-15 point margin of victory and they don't convincingly put them away, that raises more questions than answers, and that's not what you want going into playing LSU next week. So we'll see. But like I say, I'll give credit where it's due. That FSU defense is nasty, and if they can replace Johnson and Thomas, then they're going to be good this year. It's just, what does Travis and that offense do? Got more people joining us in the chat. One Pride 40 says Levi about to go bye-bye. Yes, I'm getting very worried about Levi Onwuzurike with the Lions, but we will chat about that on the Lions pod on Monday. Oh, what would you know? We've actually got a Nebraska Cornhuskers fan in the house. WITIT official. He says, where them Husker fans smelling a 6th championship for my Nebraska Cornhuskers. Wow. I mean, we were really nice about them when we talked about them against Northwestern. I mean, conference title is not out the question for them this year, if everything goes well, is it?
No. The conference last year was a mess. Like I say, because last year, it was all over the place. Everyone was beating everyone, and there were a lot of sides that really let themselves down. So there's huge strides to be made this year. Like I say, last year didn't win many games. They could at least double that total this year. Like I say, I think they've got massive room for growth. And I think they'll be one of those teams where you look for them to go from worst to first. Like the baseline, they played. The record was terrible last year. But I don't think they'll come anywhere near that. They'll be nowhere near as bad as they were last year. Everything is up from now. And if they are bad this year, then it's time to get rid of Scott Frost. If the players are brought in from the portal and they cannot make significant strides, you've got to get rid of him. It will just prove that he's not cut out for the job.
Oh god, yeah. It's kind of like a reverse Northern Illinois, isn't it? They went 5-0 in 2-point or less games last season, which is just like, that ain't going to happen. Northern Illinois' record could flip this year based on a few plays. Well, it's the same with Nebraska. 9 defeats by single digits. You know, that's not much. They ain't getting blown out. All it takes is a few of them games and you switch your record quickly. So there is no reason they can't win 7, 8, 9 games and it not be surprising. So interested on that one. Quirky Jerky on Twitch says, and this is back to the Florida Duquesne game, he says, so this is a game you're following the spread as much as the score to see how close Duquesne can keep it. Yes, I agree. This is one where you're watching the spread to see what happens, and you know, I think this can work out a lot worse for FSU than it can work good. If they absolutely rip the hell out of them, then they're expected to. Anything other than that, you raise questions. So really, you're on a hide into nothing, but it's the same for a lot of teams in this situation. So we're both picking Florida State for that one, I guess. This is yeah. So we're completely level. I might not even include this in the pick watch because at this minute in time there are so few games which are that close. Next up, we have our first actual in-conference matchup. So this is in the CUSA, and the Charlotte 49ers traveling to Florida Atlantic. Now this is the first one I'm maybe going to question a line here, but Florida Atlantic are 7.5 point favourites for this one. So Charlotte, they come into this on the back of a 5-7 season last time out, but it was a season in which they also took their first ever Power 5 scalp. I do believe it was Duke, but Power 5 scalp is a Power 5 scalp. Will Healy is the coach. He is very highly thought of in the college football ranks, and he comes to town with a very good offense behind him. So Chris Reynolds is the quarterback. He is a highly experienced starter coming into his 5th season. He has nearly 8,000 passing yards, and the offense is returning 85% of production last season. And this was a unit that ranked in the 60s, so that is not to be sniffed at for a CUSA side. That is a decent offense they've got there. The defense, however, is rotten. It finished 120th out of 130 teams in the FBS last season. They do have a new defensive coordinator in town and a slew of transfer portals arriving to help them out, and that defense was quite young last year, so what does experience do to it this year? Who knows? It's got to be better than 120th though. Florida Atlantic, they kind of have the opposite problem. So their defense was really good last year, especially the run defense. That ranked in the top 40 nationally. It was a really good run defense, and that is expected to be the strength of the team again this season, the defense as large. The offense struggled to put up points, but they got a decent first year out of quarterback in Kosi Perry. They'll be hoping that that form from him continues into year 2 and that he's able to take the next step forward. Out of the two teams, like I say, Charlotte, offense good, defense bad. Florida Atlantic, offense meh, Defense, really good. I think Charlotte have the biggest imbalance between these teams, between the strengths and the weaknesses, than Florida Atlantic. Willie Taggart, he's the head coach at Florida Atlantic. Historically, he does well turning teams into good sides from bad sides. He is in his third year now with Florida Atlantic. So they are expected to be much better this year. They are expected to contend for the CUSA title, but I don't know. I'm sleeping on this Charlotte team this year. I think it could be pretty decent. I think 7.5 is too high. I see Charlotte maybe pulling off an upset here. What are your thoughts about this one?
I'm going to go for a Charlotte win, and that's because I know Nkosi Perra, that's the former Miami quarterback, and he blows more hot and cold than, like I say, anything. Like I say, he can be fantastic or he can be terrible. You never know which Perry is going to turn up. Like I say, it wasn't great at the time at the Hurricanes. And Willie Taggart, like you say, a lot of experience, but it never seems to have ended well in places for him. He's always kind of been like, you go before we force you out, like I say, with the FSU. So I like Charlotte's chances. I think their offense is able to counteract the good defense of Florida, but a bad offense in Florida might struggle to take advantage of a middling defense. I think Charlotte can start quickly. Like I say, if they get out to a lead, I don't know if they'll be able to rein it back, Florida. So I'm gonna say like +4 Charlotte. I'll take them like that. How's the upset?
Wow, I thought we were going to diverge here, but no, we're not. I'm taking the upset in this one as well. I think Charlotte can go on the road and beat Florida Atlantic this week. So both of us booking the trend and going against a favourite. Nice to throw something a little different in here rather than all these one-sided wins. So yeah, Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, me and Ryan both going with Charlotte. The next one, however, might not be so debatable. Florida A&M travelling to the University of North Carolina, otherwise known as UNC. UNC are 35.5 point favourites for this one. It is a new age at UNC. Sam Howell has gone to the NFL. He is with the Washington Commodores. I call them the Commodores, not the Commanders, because it's funny. The new quarterback was announced this week. It's going to be Drake May. He's going to be Sam Howell's successor. UNC are coming off a bad season for them. They had just 6 wins and they got absolutely tanked by South Carolina in their bowl game. It wasn't even close. The run game was the offensive strength last year, believe it or not, but Ty Chandler has also left for the NFL. They need to find the next guy, and they need to find him quicker than last year, because me and Ryan were very, we were honed in on UNC last year. It took a while to get Chandler going, and in that time, Howell got absolutely hammered into next week. It wasn't very nice on him. The offensive line was poor. It ranked 69th in havoc rate allowed and 84th in stuff rate allowed. So basically, it meant that they couldn't really do either facet of the game, pass protection or run protection, very well. It was more on guys like Howell and Chandler. They had to go into business for themselves and make the plays on their own a lot of the time, in spite of their offensive line. They can, however, call on a stud wide receiving call led by none other than Josh Downs. He is a very enticing prospect to watch this year. He had a great year last year, but can the new quarterback get the rhythm going with them quickly? And more importantly, can their offensive line protect him, at least just for a little bit? The defense has been really poor the last few years. Statistically, they've been declining for 3 years in a row now. They were really bad last year. They've got a new defensive coordinator, Gene Chizik. He's former Auburn head coach. He's been defensive coordinator at UNC before, but he's not led a top 40 defense since 2006. So can he change things really quickly? Because really they need that defense to be a lot better. There's a lot of talent, individual talent, on these UNC defenses. They've just not seemed to be able to maximize them. Florida A&M, on the other hand, they play in the Southwestern Athletic Conference in the FCS, or the SWAC as it is known. The limited scouting intel I've got on these guys, the running back room looks really good. They have a talented pool of running backs there, and they are able to run the ball pretty well. And on the defense, the strength is in the secondary. There are plenty of guys in there who are clamoring to fill the void left by one Marquise Bell, one of mine and Ryan's favourite players going into the draft last year, the safety. He was really good, but apparently there's a lot of guys clamouring to come up and make that position their own there. The secondary is a strength. They're coming off a 9-3 season, and by no means they're not going to be a pushover if UNC show up with the wrong attitude, but still don't think that means they're really going to win this one. But it's going to be an interesting year for UNC. A lot of change here now Sam Howell's gone.
I think plus 35 is really disrespectful to Florida A&M. People are hyping up UNC way too big. If Drake May fell flat on his face, I would not be surprised at all. These Bama kids that don't get their way, get beat out, and then transfer, hit the portal. I don't see them hitting the ground running at all. I think they'll make really hard work of this. I know Florida A&M have got one of the best players in the whole FCS. I think he's called Isaiah Land. He's one of the star players in the nation. I think he plays in the defensive line. I think he is someone that could make havoc. He could have a huge day. He will make Drake May's life really uncomfortable. So I reckon UNC will probably get over the line, but if Florida A&M go into the fourth quarter and they're less than 2 scores behind, I will not be surprised at all. I think they'll really struggle to put them away, and they'll make really hard work of it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be another one like the Florida State game. I think you're going to watch the spread in this one very closely to see what happens, but I'm with you. I think Florida A&M are a good team. Some of my favourite players in last year's draft cycle came from them. Marquise Bell, Keenan Forbes. They are a talented team. They have some good players there. And like I say, they can run the ball well. So if they can get that run game established and take time off the clock and keep the UNC offense off the field, and potentially limit the amount of damage it does to them there. And I say, that secondary is talented. So if Drake May has to start throwing the ball because they can't run it again like the start of last season, then opportunities will be there. I think UNC are going to win, but yeah, I'm with you. The 35.5 point, line is disrespectful to Florida A&M, and I don't think it's going to be by that margin. So yeah, we're both going to go with UNC for that one. 3 more to go and then we are done. So we've got another in-conference game next. It's another CUS game. So we have the North Texas Mean Green traveling to the University of Texas in El Paso. That's the UTEP Miners. The Miners are favoured by 1.5 points in this one. This is a very, very close game. I think home advantage here is giving them a little bit of a push up. Just to go through a little bit of things. I love having all these notes that we did from the group of 5 stuff, because it means I don't have to go and research them anymore. So the Texas Mean Green, they went 6-7 last year. They were 5-3 in Conference USA. So Seth Littrell is the coach there. This is his 7th season in the job. Took over a team that had finished 1-11, but he's on the whole he's had really decent success with North Texas. They're still reeling from the loss of Mason Fine, their star quarterback, who threw for 12,500 yards. He was really good. They're still struggling to replace him. The quarterback, they've got a 29-year-old quarterback, Austin Awney. I call him Awney. I don't know if I've butchered that wrong, but 29 years old, that is old for a college quarterback. The Mean Green defense is where their strengths are. They were 17th in defensive rush success last year, 36th in defensive pass success. They're returning 60% of that defense last year as well, so expect that defense to be good once more. The offense was carried by the running game, but they have lost the lead running back, but they do have sort of a running back room by committee still. They're bringing back 4 starters on the offensive line as well, so they're probably going to be able to run the ball pretty well again, and that defense is going to be intact there. It's all about the quarterback though. Can that quarterback get anything going there? He's 29 years old. You kind of wonder what his ceiling is going forward. Can he do any better than what they've had since Mason Fine left? I don't know. in terms of Texas El Paso, where on earth are their notes? They went 7-6 last year. They were 4-4 in the CUSA. So these teams they're both sort of around the .500 mark there last year. UTEP are coached by Dana DeMel. He's done pretty. He started off rough. He went 1-11, 1-11, 3-5 in his first 3 years. Finished 7-6 last year though, 4 conference wins, and they got to a bowl game for the first time in a little while, although they lost to Fresno State. Their quarterback situation is a lot better. Gavin Hardison, he's in his 4th year there, 3,218 yards, 18 touchdowns last season. He's got a cannon of an arm, so that's good for them. He also threw 13 picks though, so ball security is a little bit of an aspect for him. And you're coming up against North Texas defense that does well against the pass. That does make you think a little bit about it. But UTEP are bringing back a lot of the team from last year. It was a decent side. The defense is kind of another where they sort of leaned on that a little bit more than their offense, but who knows with this one. The discipline with them needs to get better though. They were 124th in penalties per game, and they had a turnover margin of 123, so they gave the ball away a lot. They gave away loads of penalties and put themselves behind the mark a lot. You cannot do that against this North Green defense. If you get to 3rd and long, they will eat you alive. So this is really close. These are two teams who, they're doing all right. They're middling in the CUSA. They're both sort of maybe trending upwards. I mean, what are your thoughts here on this one?
I'm going to go against the spread. I'm going to take North Texas on this one, I think. I think that defense can come out and make life hard for Hardison week 1. I think they can capitalise on him. If both QBs are rusty, I think the better defense will be able to capitalise. And I don't think UTEP having home advantage makes that much of a difference, because it's not like they're travelling far. Like you say, it's not much of a home advantage when they're probably not too far apart. I think primed for a good series, like I say, returning a decent amount, North Texas, decent offensive line, a QB that they probably just asked to not make too many mistakes, could go run heavy. They may ask the UTEP defense to try stop the run all day, but no, I'm going to go against the spread. I don't think it'd be an upset though. Like I say, when these two teams are heavily matched, so closely matched, it's not really an upset to go against it.
No, I kind of agree with you there. I don't think there is going to be too much of an upset. I mean, this is really close. This is tough. This is one of those these are the kind of games that are going to be put in the pick watch every week, because there's really not a lot of difference between them. I don't know. I kind of favour the Mean Green here as well, but I always worry about that quarterback situation in North Texas. It really is bad for them, but I mean, if they can establish the run, it's not really going to bother them too much. So, hell yeah, I think I'm going to go with them as well. I think I'm going with North Texas to cause the minor upset. It's a 1.5 point spread. That's probably because of home advantage only. They're very evenly matched. I think North Texas are going to win that one as well. Got more guys in the chat. Det Fan Man is in there. He goes, it's a devastating bummer that General Booty and his Sooners won't begin until next week. At least we got Hard Knocks. Yes, General Booty will be playing college football next week. I don't think he'll be starting, but nevertheless, he is arriving, and Det Fan Man is his biggest fan going. One Pride 40 says, don't say anything when MSU beat Michigan. U of M is grossly overrated. Well, we would probably agree with you there, but we don't want to say that because I've already upset Michigan fans enough over this last year. So, yeah, not going to get too much into that one. Next up, so we have Nevada, the Nevada Wolfpack against or on the road to New Mexico State. So Nevada are 9-point favorites for this one, but when the line opened up, they were 15-point favorites. So I don't know what's happening, but the spread on this is kind of nearly halved since since the lines were announced. There, obviously, Nevada have lost a slew of players this season just gone. I mean, is it really going to affect them that much against a team like New Mexico State? I don't know. Let me just bring up my notes on Nevada for this year. So, yeah, they've got first-year head coach here because last year they lost. Oh God, who was the guy who left last year? It was, oh God, what's his face? Who's gone to Colorado State? Jay Norvell. Jay Norvell left last year. So Nevada now led by Ken Wilson. He spent 19 years at Nevada between 1989 and 2012 in a variety of positions from there. He had sort of a little break in the middle, hence why the discrepancy. Over the 19-year period there. He's been at Washington State as linebacker coach for 6 years. He's been at Oregon as linebacker coach. Nevada have chosen to bring him home, I think, at a time of great turmoil. They've lost a lot of players this season. A lot of players followed Jay Norvell over to Colorado State, and I think they're looking for kind of a guy who's familiar with the campus, familiar with the team to try and guide them through these choppy waters. The quarterback, it's Oklahoma State transfer Shane Illingworth. This is his third year. He has never been a starter. He's thrown 69 completions for 939 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 57.5% completion rating. So it's a little bit of meh with him. OSU have been a good team now, though, but he's coming to a team that's been winning games. He's coming to a team that is just starting a big rebuild in a division that is tough as nails. These are night and day scenarios for him here. Like I say, there's just 30% production returning on this team last year. I think it's the second least in the entirety of the FBS. Carson Strong's gone, Romeo Daub's gone, Cole Turner's gone. That was kind of everything that they were about last year. 11 players have followed Jay Norvell to Colorado State. The run defense was 125th last year. It was really poor. There's very little experience coming back on the defensive line or in the linebacking core. They were better against the pass, but they've lost both starting cornerbacks as well, so you're kind of starting entirely from scratch again. You do have their leading rusher back, Toa Tower. He had 1,000 yards all last season. They've got a few little bits on the defensive line. You've got Don Peterson on there. He's very productive at defensive tackle. He's entering his 5th year, but I mean, it's hard to... This is going to be a rough year, I feel like, for them. And I mean, speaking of rough years, it just seems to be a case where every year is a rough year for New Mexico State. Obviously, they are the FBS Independents. I am right, aren't they? New Mexico State are the Independents, aren't they, Ryan? I'm not getting that one wrong.
Yeah, the Aggies. They're the Independent, yeah.
The New Mexico State, yeah. I'm just grabbing the notes up on New Mexico State here. So, yeah, the Aggies, Jerry Kill.
The Lobos,
yeah.
Independent, yeah.
Yeah, the Lobos are there. So, New Mexico State Aggies, the coach, Jerry Kill. This is his first season. 60 years old. He's taking over from Doug Martin, who had an absolutely disastrous reign there. He was there 8 seasons. They had 1 season when they won more than 3 games. That's just how bad this team has been. They're starting a backup at quarterback this year, Dino Maldonado. 513 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions to his name. That is it. Offense was decent last year. It saved them from going winless. It was the strength of the team, but they've lost their starting quarterback. They've lost 8 wide receivers. That's their entire starting unit and their entire backup unit. And they've lost their leading rusher as well, Jawan Price. He had 10 touchdowns more than the next guy on the team when it came to total touchdowns. They've lost 3 starting offensive linemen as well. Defense was grim. 124th in defensive pass success, 123rd in defensive run success. I mean, yikes. This is kind of 2 teams who are starting from right on the bottom. I don't think they could really go much lower. Nevada probably on a bit of a higher pedestal here. I mean, what was the favour again in this? Nevada are 9-point favourites. I mean, what do you make on this?
I mean, it's certainly not going to be one for spectators. It could be a pretty ugly watch. But it wouldn't surprise me if Shane Illingworth had a really good game. Like I said, it's the perfect way to start your career at a new team, playing against New Mexico State that are pretty dreadful. They're there to be picked on. And as bad as Nevada are and all the stats are, I expect them to win very comfortably because New Mexico State just don't have enough about them to rise to the occasion and pull off an upset. This Nevada team is very weak. It's there to be picked off. there's a huge chance of an upset, but I still don't think they've got it in them. I expect Nevada to win comfortably, playing with a lot of backups and odd jobs and plumbers and whatever you want to say. You could throw anyone out on the field, and I still think they could beat the Aggies. I expect them to beat them by at least 9 points minimum.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with you on that one. I think, yeah, I liked Nevada last year. I was a big Carson Strong fan, and I watched them very closely, and they still had a little bit of a poor year in the grander scheme of things, and they're just really starting from bottom this year. But I think New Mexico State, new head coach, just one 3-win season plus in 8 years is just not good at any level of the game. It's just sustained losing. I think they're really going to struggle. I think the money line's probably going to be. I think the final margin of victory is going to be closer to that 15 that it opened up by than the 9 that it is now. But I mean, who knows? Something is shifting opinion in favour of New Mexico. Well, not in favour, but something is saying that Nevada are not going to do as well as people are expecting. But yeah, I'm with you. I still expect them to win that one there. So yeah, I think we're both going to go for Nevada with that one, and I think we've said the exact same answer for every single matchup so far. And the very last one, fixture 11 of this week, we have our first SEC team. Well, I say SEC team, they're at the bottom of the SEC, but we have the Vanderbilt Commodores at Hawaii. They're on the road trip there. That's why they have the week 0 game. Vanderbilt get an extra week to recover from this trip all the way out there. Hawaii get their extra home game to raise money for all their travelling this season. Believe it or not, Rye, when we talked about Hawaii, in fact, I'll do the line at the end because I'm going to get you to guess it. I don't think you've seen the prep doc, so I'm going to assume you haven't anyhow. But let's oh god, where have I gone? So yeah, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, they are in all sorts of turmoil this year. So the coach is Timmy Chang. It's his first season. He's a former Hawaii quarterback from in college. He threw for over 17,000 yards. He's something of a cult figure there. He even spent a little bit of time on the Detroit Lions roster in 2005. But I mean, man, oh man, does he sort of have a problem there. He's taken it over from Todd Graham, who was the former head coach there. He's left that program in absolute ruins. There was all sorts of accusations about bullying, improper conduct, which meant literally all of their players went into the transfer portal and left. And I mean, I'm not even joking. It was a vast proportion of their team who went into the transfer portal. There's very little there. In terms of the team, the quarterback, Braden Shager, Cameron Cooper, the Washington State transfer, Joey Yellen, the Pittsburgh transfer, they were fighting it out last time. I don't think I've seen them announce a starter for this one, but they don't have one at the minute. I think it's still a 3-way fight going into this weekend. None of them's ever been a starter, so there's no tape on them to do any scouting reports on them. It's just going to literally be probably, best guy's going to win the job. Don't know which one of them it is, but I mean, Hawaii are in all sorts of problems at the minute. They're building a new stadium, so at the minute they're playing on a practice field. It's got a max capacity of 3,000, so it doesn't really make an enticing prospect to get guys to go out there and play in the first place. They're returning 25% of their production from 2021. 25%, that is 1/4 of their team is returning from last year. It is dead last in the FBS by some margin. They've lost 10 starters on offense, 7 starters on defense. Like I say, players were citing the culture as a reason they were leaving. Then the head coach decided to leave in January, which added insult to injury because that's quite late on in the season for them. They've lost their quarterback, who's gone to the Mountain West. They've lost Nick Mardner, the star wide receiver, the star defensive end, Jonah Laulu. He went to Oklahoma. Basically, every single one of their playmakers is gone. They're going to build. I think they will build something over there in course of time. They brought in Ian Shoemaker, who was the offensive coordinator at Eastern Washington. That's a really good offense in the FCS, but it's his first job up here. Chang, it's his first year as a head coach, so this is going to take a lot of time to build. And in terms of Vanderbilt, there's not really much needs to be said about Vanderbilt as the kind of the whipping boys of the SEC. They are more of a, they're one of those universities that puts a lot of stock into other sports. I know the baseball team's pretty decent there, but Hawaii are in all sorts of problems at the minute. Probably going to be one of the worst teams in the FBS this year. And Vanderbilt, they are an SEC team at the end of the day. That does put respect on the name. What do you think the line is for this one, even with all those extenuating circumstances in there? What do you reckon? And Vanderbilt are favoured, I'm just going to say that, but what do you reckon they're favoured by?
10. Not many. I reckon they're favoured by very little.
Wow, I thought you might go higher. It's 7.5.
Yeah.
7.5.
Vanderbilt are trash. Vanderbilt are trash.
Yeah.
Their SEC doesn't get them any respect. I'm saying Hawaii are going to win. Ken Seals Jr. I don't think is a very good quarterback. I think he's probably the worst in the SEC. The Vanderbilt offense is dreadful. So they won't look out of place in a group of 5 conference. I think they could still get their ass handed to them weekly. They don't have to worry about stadium size because they don't have any football fans. There's no Commodore football fans. They don't exist. They're just terrible. So I am saying there's no pressure on Hawaii. Every bit of pressure is on Vanderbilt to win. And I think the Rainbow Warriors are going to cause a massive upset and embarrass Vanderbilt.
Oh, wow. You've put me in a position here. I thought we were just going to breeze through this in unison this week, and then you've gone and put this on me at the last minute. You think Hawaii are going to pull off the upset against Vanderbilt. What do I think now? Because, part of me just goes, I'm just going to go with the SEC team, but, you've got to take what's in front of you. But, I mean, Hawaii's just lost so much in that team, but you're right, there's no pressure on them. Yeah. Screw it, I'm going to say Vanderbilt, but I'm not confident. We're going to diverge, so one of us is going to be ahead in week 2, regardless of whether we like it or not. But you know what? I appreciate the optimism from you there. If Hawaii were just a little bit more settled, I'd pick them. I really would. But I think
it is worrying they haven't got us. It's worrying that named a quarterback about 36 hours before a game.
I don't know. Yeah. I might have missed it. I don't know, but yeah, it is concerning. It is a 3-way fight there, so we will see. But fair kudos. So Ryan's going with Hawaii. I'm going to go with Vanderbilt, but like I say, zero confidence in that one there, and that is it. Those are the 11 fixtures this week. So as I said at the top of the show, we are going to be doing a pick watch of college football this year. We're going to be picking 10 fixtures every week. And you can get involved with us if you want. We've already got some guys in our Discord who are going to be doing this with us. They're going to be a lot closer than this week. This is just week 0. These are the only fixtures available, so the schedule's not going to be like this. But if you want to get involved with us, just let us know and we'll add you to this. So just to go through all the fixtures that are happening again this weekend. So you've got Austin Peay at Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky 21.5 point favourites. You've got Northwestern and Nebraska playing in the Island game. Nebraska are favoured by 13. You've got Idaho State at UNLV. There's no betting lines there, but UNLV are the favourites. You've got Wyoming, the Cowboys at Illinois. The Fighting Illini. Illinois are favoured by 11. UConn at Utah State. Utah State favoured by 27. Duquesne at Florida State. Again, there's no line, but FSU are favoured by 99.5% to win that one. You got Charlotte at Florida Atlantic. 7.5 point favourites are Florida Atlantic. You've got Florida A&M at UNC. UNC are favoured by 35.5 points. North Texas at UTEP, and also USA clash. UTEP are favoured by 1.5. Nevada away at New Mexico State. Nevada favoured by 9. And Vanderbilt away at Hawaii. Vanderbilt are favoured by 7.5. Me and Ryan, we've both picked Western Kentucky, Nebraska, UNLV, Illinois, Utah State, Florida State, Charlotte. We've bet on to upset Florida Atlantic, UNC, North Texas to upset UTEP, Nevada, and then we've split on the very last one. Ryan has gone Hawaii, I have gone Vanderbilt. Let us know what your picks for these games are. And that is everything from us today. Is there anything else from the college world you want to get off your chest before we go on this week?
No. It's gone very quiet. It's all with the calm before the storm right now, isn't it? I feel like.
Oh, did you see Charlie Brewer got named starting quarterback at Liberty? They're going to regret that. I feel like they're going to regret that massively.
I feel like his reputation definitely precedes him. He's thrown 10,000 yards in those Bailey years, but I don't know. We'll see. He could resurrect it all. He ain't got any draft stock, but yeah, I think they've gone down the experience route, which is fair enough. I hope everyone seen the DeColdis Crawford, the NIL deal, the TV advert for the air conditioning company.
Yeah, it's an absolutely amazing thing. This NIL stuff's just gonna go crazy, but it's providing some good moments out of there. So yeah, that, like I say, is just about everything from us this week. Just need to let you know about next week's shows here on Roar of the Lions UK. So Monday the 29th of August, our main podcast, we will be doing a Pittsburgh Steelers game review. Obviously that's pre-season week 3, and we will be giving our final thoughts on the 53-man roster. The cuts will be starting roughly in and around that time, so we'll give our thoughts on the latest cuts, and we'll give our thoughts on who we think will still be cut at this point. I think it's going to be a really interesting week in terms of who to get rid of. I think we're all going to be upset with at least one player by the time the weekend's done, but that's a good thing. You want that sort of competition on the roster there. We will probably be doing another live stream during the game as well. So the game in the UK is at 9:30 PM on Sunday evening, 4:30 EST over there with you in America. So if you want to come and chat with us whilst the game is on, I'll be in there. I think Matt will be in there, and maybe a few others will be as well. So come and join us for that. The next college football podcast will be next Wednesday. It will actually be back on Wednesday for a change, providing Ryan's alright for that. That is the 31st of August. We have a lot to go through next week. We will be reviewing the Week 0 games that we have previewed this week. We will be taking a look at Week 1, because obviously the full slate comes out then, so we'll be previewing some of the biggest and best games we're looking forward to that week. And me and Ryan will also be showing a project that we've been doing. Because we didn't do the Power 5 conferences when we did the previews for the conferences this season, we decided we were going to do a little something to highlight some of the guys in the Power 5. So what we're going to do, we are creating our own pre-season Power 5 sleeper player teams. So we're going to create a pre-season team, so 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, quarterback, like PFF and all that do for their pre-season watch list teams. We're going to create a list of those from the Power 5 conferences, and we're going to highlight all sorts of weird and wonderful players there. I've already got a few freshmen in mind, so these are going to be the guys to watch this season, the guys who are not getting nationally recognised praise and need a little bit more chatter about them. Calling them the Ryan and Antony sleepers, so they're going to be the all-Ras. I know that's terrible, but hey ho, that's what they're going to be. They're going to be the all-Ras. So me and Ryan are going to do that next week, and like I say, we're going to preview Week 1, we're going to review Week 0. So there's going to be a lot for us to chat about, so hopefully you can come and join us for that. We'll be very much appreciative of that. Thank you to everyone who's joined us this evening in YouTube and on Twitch. Obviously, with this podcast we do, the college football one, last year, I don't know if you've listened to us before in terms of last year, but if you want anything in regards to the 2023 draft, regarding the Detroit Lions, if you want to learn about guards in the college football game this season, let us know. We will scout them for you. If you want to know about certain players, we will scout them for you. We did a lot of requests for people last season, and our schedule is open now, so any position groups, any players, you want us to scout them, we'll do it for you, because that's why we're here doing this, try and make things easier for Detroit Lions fans when it comes around to draft season. So yeah, any and all requests, keep putting it up on Twitter and whatnot, asking you if you want anything on there. So yeah, hit us up if you want to know anything about college there. Just remains for me to go through the socials, and then we are out of here. So you can find us all over the internet. So on YouTube, you can find us at Roar of the Lions UK. Twitch, Twitter and Instagram, you can find us at ROTL_UK. On Facebook, our page Roar of the Lions UK, our Facebook group, Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. And we have a website as well, www.roarofthelionsuk.com. You can find all our latest and greatest articles on there. There's not been much recently, but there will be with the season fast approaching. So keep an eye out for us there. Just remains for me to thank Ryan McCluskey for joining me this evening. Enjoy Saturday, Ryan. I really do hope Northwestern and Nebraska have like a 120-point thriller that, you know, really gets you going for that there. But no, enjoy the day itself, man. I hope it's all good for you.
Yep, and I'll be able to review it firsthand next week. So I'll take some photos, I'll show some people as well. And if you go into the game, message me. Like I say, if any Nebraska fans or any Americans are coming over to Dublin, and if you're not already here, drop me a message. Like I say, go with my partner. Let's have a drink.
There you go. Hit him up. Show him. What's your Twitter handle, Rye?
@_RY McCluskey. Just got the college pod. You'll find me. Like you say, Roar Lions. You'll find me. And yeah, hit me up.
There you go. If you're going to the Ireland game, hit Ryan up. He will chat with you all day about college football. He knows even more than I do. So yeah. Anyhow, have a great weekend, Ryan, and I shall see you again next Wednesday when we are going to have a hella lot of stuff to talk about.